SPT, even with the sub, was able to take a map off the players?
You know, it's tough to say exactly. I feel like overall, in my opinion, a lot of that win from SPT came from mistakes on the side of Blossom. I feel like CE's play overall and their drafting has been a little bit more solid today. I really liked how they were playing, for example, the Anubarak play. So that's something that I want to look forward to more going into this series. But it's hard to really judge. This might be our most competitive, close series that we've seen all day.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as, when we were talking with Kendrick backstage, we were talking about this series in particular. It's like they're very familiar. Both these teams are very familiar with each other. They're two of the best teams from their region. When you look individually at the names, historically they go back really far. So they're very familiar with each other. So I think when you have that familiarity within a region, it definitely brings the level of competition up because you bring out the best in each other because you've already experienced the highs and the lows. And so no matter what, when you have those inter-region matchups in a setup like this, it's always going to bring out the top-tier competition.
As we have just seen, we have Infernal Shrines as our first map. Do you think that there's any kind of advantage to one of the teams, considering that Wolf, for example, highlighted the drafting a little bit more, where he felt that the CE, if I understood you correctly, had a bit more of a draft advantage in the way that they drafted for the map? Do you think that gives them a bit of an edge for a map that we haven't seen so far a lot yet today? I think it was the second time that we have it.
I don't even know if there's been any advantages. It seems like everybody finds a way to try and counter the other, maybe not necessarily play to the battleground, but find ways to, okay, if you're going to draft this way on the battleground, I'll try and draft against you on here in a way that does work. And sometimes it's been hit or miss, but I think that that's definitely something that I don't think I can give an advantage to either team here.
I think the team that figures out best how to draft around the heroes that have had the most success today, the Tracer, the Malfurion, the Blaze, those are going to be the teams that continue to succeed in this tournament. This is our last match of the day. Both these teams have gotten a ton of data from not only the Korean teams, but from each other. So this should theoretically be our most advanced draft yet. And already we're seeing a pretty big priority of Garrosh yet again here for CE.
I have to admit that the Garrosh priority surprises me even more on this map than on the rest of the maps that we've seen so far today. As Tim already talked about earlier, he has been surprisingly high in prior overall. I mean, we've seen him as a first ban even, but as a first pick on Infernal Shrines, it still surprises me quite a bit.
Yeah, the Garrosh, and the reason being is obviously the taunt, or the toss in particular. How do you get the toss on something where there's so much around you? You literally have to find the perfect opportunity. You have to step away to take the team fight. It's not bad because eventually once you get that taunt at level 10, it allows you to just kind of be like, all right, we know where you're going to be. You're going to have to be fighting on this point. But it doesn't necessarily stand out as a first pick style hero.
The problem with first picking it too is you give away the Tracer and or the Malfurion. In this case, with both available, you're going to be giving both. So SPT now has the opportunity to have this sustained Tracer. It's going to be running around getting pulse bombs. Garrosh obviously can shut down pulse bombs if he's positioned correctly, if he can eat the pulse bombs instead of the swishes in the back line. But yeah, I completely agree. You can get picks with Garrosh in the early game still if you run a support that allows him to heal with that armor too. He can be quite strong, but I already look at this draft and think, well, Tracer Malfurion has been more successful thus far.
Yeah, especially, it surprises me too, because CE has been very adamant about picking Tracer very early in the drafts that they showed against Ballistics in the previous series. So that they would just give that over to SPT is a bit surprising and prioritize Garrosh higher. On the other hand, I also have to admit, from SPT's perspective, it definitely shows what you've been talking about earlier, Jay, how that there's a lot of familiarity between the teams. Of course, everybody has been watching those games that have been played, so they immediately took their Tracer option away. We still have Genji around, but we see from CE Cassia, and that is something that they already played with little success against Ballistics earlier today, so the second Cassia games that we're getting here.
Yeah, I feel like the Tassia draft that we saw before made a little bit more sense. They picked it into a gray main. The blinds could be quite useful there. They have Johanna as well in their draft, so maybe that's something we can look forward to going to the last two picks here with a... Well, I guess not really, that I think about it, because Garrosh is already locked in. I was looking at previous drafts, but this is a little bit weird. This was also a double support Cassia, and things went a little bit awry, I think, in that draft on Tomb of the Spider Queen. This feels to me like a comfort pick. Like it's something they're very familiar with, that they feel like is going to be a safe choice when, again, we're in the loser's bracket. A loss here means elimination.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that on the Cassia pick. It's something we know that they've played And one thing that we saw earlier was the Tassadar pickup and pairing it with the Tracer, despite already having the Malfurion. The Malfurion kind of does okay because he can heal you hitting that Moonfire on heroes while you already have the regrowth, and it doesn't really matter where you're at as Tracer. However, this is Infernal Shrines, which is arguably one of Tassadar's best battlegrounds because not only does he help the Tracer, but he also contributes to the clear of the shrine. So SPT, if they want to go down that route, I wouldn't be surprised if they do pick that up on this battleground in particular.
Another thing that's really a strong possibility here for SPT, although they didn't show it yet today, is an old callback for them. The Tyrael, it's still available here. Imagine, Malfurion, the longer he can use his heals, he can really keep Tracer alive. She's so mobile. Add shields on top of that, it becomes very difficult to kill this hero. Even when you have things like the Blind, you have Garrosh's potential for CC, you have Blaze's potential for his dash to come in and connect. Tyrael can really help, allow you to roam a little bit more freely, control the camps on this map.
Talking about Tyrael, does it surprise you guys a bit that Tyrael has not been a huge priority at the Eastern Clash? Not only given how much of a priority he has been at the Western Clash, but also since traditionally, especially the Eastern regions are the ones that really just like push out Tyrael at every single offline tournament. It has been really surprising to me.
It has been surprising, and as we see the Diablo and Junkrat locked in here, it has been surprising, but we've seen a lot of Koreans ban it or pick it, specifically the Korean teams. We saw that in HGC Korea as well after the Tyrael rework, his level 1 shielding being a lot stronger. But yeah, 84% involvement in Western Clash, huge high pick rate, high ban rate, and I feel like he'd be a great pick with the Tracer. Malfurion looks like we're moving away from that potentially here now with the Diablo, Junkrat, and Tyrael's not really a great solo Shriner, so feels less likely, but yeah, that is a little bit surprising to me.
I really like the Diablo and Junkrat pickup. The Diablo pickup, obviously on Infernal Shrines, you have a lot of structures to kind of get the stuns, post 13, 16, that Garrosh, the percent-based damage with the big charge, and you get the double charge at the 13-16 combo there. Junkrat also has the displacement. Garrosh doesn't have mobility. He's just a straight walking hero. Right-click everywhere you go. So Junkrat can really displace the Garrosh, and you really try and get that. Malfurion's got the roots to lock everything down. So Alexstrasza in a special here for Infernal Shrines.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one with Dragon Queen again. We have seen this in an A, that Alexstrasza, Ragnaros, and Tychus are all being picked up because you can, with Odin and with Dragon Form, for example, or even Molten Core, get access to the last 20 remaining stacks on the shrines and secure it for yourself. Zone control is, of course, also going to be important with her, but still interesting to see her in the setup now. And they don't really have the most amazing shrine clear right now. I mean, the best hero that they have for that is Greyman at this point, whereas on the other side you see Junkrat, for example, who just safely, even from outside the shrine, can just poke all day long and secure yourself a few stacks.
You really have to commit heavily to going into the shrine itself to actually secure the kills on the defenders as CE with this draft. With the Fend, Greymane could do a little bit with his cocktail, but it's not amazing. So the bunker is going to be key. Alexstrasza's healing works towards that, but it's pretty risky. If you start to lose the fight, you're going to have a really bad time with this draft. Malthael is also going to dominate the lane now, arguably against Blaze, and will be able to help burn through some of Garrosh's health pool. So I like the draft of SPT a lot more. The Tracer Malfurion has plagued teams that have let it happen so much today, and I just expect that's going to continue to happen in this first game.
Yeah, I mean, with this being set up here, already we've been talking a bit about which teams we think are going to have a bit of an upper hand there already before, but still, just looking at this, the Malthael as a lock-in here towards the end also seems very much in theme of the tournament.
It definitely does, and this is a battleground where I think it does do okay because despite the Garrosh, there's always the flip factor when you have Garrosh, is that it's like, all right, how do I make my way back? That's sometimes when you look at the melee, like, how do you get back into the fray? And I think that you get that Ray Strike, you get things going in. So long as you're tagging things, you can jump back in, find yourself not locked down on the backside there. So,
yeah, I obviously in the predictions I voted for CE. This is before the draft, but I feel like their play was cleaner in their series against the Korean team than SPT's was, even though they were able to take that game off Blossom.
I mean, from a viewer's perspective, we are currently also seeing that it's very much a 50-50, and that's what we said before. It's also something that has been echoed when I talked to in the winners interview earlier about them, and I said, like, well, not quite sure who we're going to face here, but they're both strong teams, and it's going to be very even. And it's definitely going to make up for a pretty interesting series. Could possibly be our closest today.
I think this right now, this series is the one where any Korean team is potentially looking at, this is where the threat would come from. If you're looking at China, you're looking at the other 4 teams not from Korea, this would be the matchup. The winner of this would be the threat going forward.
All right, well, let's jump into this game, guys. Game number 1 between these two Chinese teams, with CE spawning on the red side. SPT obviously over in blue across the map, as you can see here. This will be my first time ever commentating an Alex Strasser game. I've been unlucky to miss them throughout my entire Heroes career, so I'm very excited to actually get to cast a game of Alex Strasser in professional play here. I think the zone control she provides in Shrine Fights can be good, but it feels like this comp to me is more of a win more comp. If you're winning the Shrine, if you're already in a good spot, if you got a pick, it's going to be so difficult for SPT to break through. But if you're losing it, if SPT already has control for the Shrine, gaining entry to that with Bunker, even with the heals on the ground from Alex Strasser, it's just not going to be a good time.
We'll see how it goes as the early aggression here. Melody C showing a little bit of favor towards the Tracer, as has been noted for quite some time. The Greymane, of course, does a little bit better as the game goes on, whether it be the increased range at level 7. But again, remember that Worgen form does give him that armor, so if he does get hit with the Pulse Bomb, look for him to dive in simply just due to the fact or find a dive target to get that armor.
Indeed. And I think that, you know, increased range can be fantastic against Tracer. Just allows you to do additional damage from safety. We saw how effective certain auto attack builds for Hanzo can be against Tracer in Korea. We saw SC find success against Tracer with a different build, the Scatter Arrow build earlier today against Tracer. But anyways, a different matchup here. As do see similar camp timings for these two. Tracer did roam up top just to see if she could find a Pulse Bomb gank. Blaze played it safe though, so no success here, as it is just going to be an even trade. A very early start to this game. Neither of these two teams dominate the early game because they both have equivalent amounts of aggressive CC. The Tracer is the issue, that the Tracer Pulse Bomb is the scary part. See if this one connects here. It does. In fact, on the 365, he is going to be able to get out here.
You can actually see CE trying to make more of a... Oh, Melody C! Nice stun there by Garrosh, as Wind getting the lockdown on that front side. But you could see that CE was, you talked about the camp timings in particular. They sent Cassia and Greymane over to get that, which is a much more significant clear. They were trying to get that, force the rotation mid, and then move bottom. Diablo and team, as Masaka tried to go in to get that dive and get the engagement, were unable to get it, but you can see CE has a very macro focus in the early part of this game.
Yeah, and it was really cool to see 365 almost bait as well the Tracer. He had placed the healing on the ground much earlier, stayed there, kind of tried to make sure the Tracer, in this case Melody C, would stick around a little bit longer. They had a lot of damage. The Tracer gets caught there and picked. The first shrine, of course, is going to be the top shrine here. Already Greymane taking that macro approach with a faster clear time here to get this camp. Not going to be the most significant because, of course, it is top shrine, same lane the mercenary camp will go on. But it could be what allows CE to control this shrine first. Getting to the shrine is always going to be the hardest part for this composition, but if they can start the shrine, if they can be the first ones to claim it, again, as I said before, SPT is going to have a hard time gaining access.
Well, the timing there is a little bit interesting, just due to the fact that Greymane, of course, ended up hearthing back there a little bit later, I think, than they probably wanted. Cassia has matched Junkrat in the bottom lane, as we can see on the minimap. So the approach here will be particularly interesting. As you can see, Tracer also lurking around, just keeping it on the minimap here, trying to see how this is going to go. But they're going to find it. They found a loophole here. Going to get knocked back.
Oh, man, the contestant might almost saved him. Oh, no way he gets out. No way.
Oh, he's playing with vision.
Oh, Shuyu's coming down. Shuyu's coming down.
Does he have a blind?
Oh,
Does he have a blind?
Still going to go down. That was insane, though. He missed the parting gift. Remember, though, all the while, this is very expensive time spent for SPT. The Shrine, defenders, they're ticking up right now. But with a member down here, this is the best opportunity SPT is going to have to regain this. And KTY, he gets as much as he can, but he's going to have to leave.
Yeah, he has to leave, but again, the Dragon Queen factor is going to come in here in just a moment. Sitting on 21 skeletal defenders, this does help a lot to get that clear. The problem is the top shrine is very different from all of the rest in the sense that it's a very team fight oriented area, because there's only one way in, one way out. If you're looking on your side, you can count 2 chokes there. But either way, now they've got the Dragon Queen out. There's going to be the heal. Now all of a sudden SPT is backed up in the clear, heavily in favor of CE.
They just simply can't take control anymore. You know, as we predicted earlier, you know, it's a tough entry for CE. They got it first, and then they were able to re-enter using the Dragon Queen, as you mentioned. We have heard about this build for Blaze, by the way, being used quite heavily in China. I think it's really good for this map specifically, the kind of auto attack there on level 7. Let's see how it plays out here. But Punisher going to go forward here. This should easily be a wall. Meanwhile, Malthael is in camp invading right now. He can't do much against a Punisher. It doesn't have much range, obviously, so I like that he's kind of roaming around, getting some extra soak, kind of mitigating how much value this Punisher gains right now.
Yeah, it did get the wall. That's pretty much all you can expect out of that. You know, we've seen some different teams from different regions. They'll kind of expect you get the wall or most of the wall, and then they'll prep another lane and try and push in that other lane, get some experience in the other one, snowball a little bit, set up for the next Punisher potentially, things like that. CE taking a very cautious approach, as we've seen kind of the back and forth here in the early game. They get the wall, they get the structure, now they're going to look to invade here down at the bottom. Some roots, though, are going to meet Wind in return.
Really nice placement again here and good timing for the heal. Unfortunately, though, Wind is going to be caught by more CC. The pulse comes through, does get the cleanse through, and he's actually still walking away with 46 armor at the moment. They're diving deep on him. CE does not capitalize on this commitment of damage, though, and the cooldown's wasted. They're actually going to lose multiple members here. Not going to make this a trade. So much went into killing Garrosh, so I was surprised that CE didn't try to put up a bigger fight there, but end up losing more than they would have originally. 2 kills now on the side of SPT, despite losing that first Punisher. They are going to be the team that gets heroics first.
You know, I'm a bit surprised at that approach. I mean, just look at the team in particular. Garrosh doesn't have his taunt. The survivability, of course, is going to be there. Blaze is kind of there. No bunker yet. Greymane doesn't have killer damage. Cassia is still working on her quest. Alex Strasser really comes alive at 10 as well. So their early game team fight potential isn't necessarily there. You don't have the pick potential that you do with Tracer on the other side. And trying to match that mobility is definitely not in favor of CE. So them trying to just walk in and bully and take that team fight without creating an advantage somewhere else on the map was a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, it's certainly a good point, because I do feel they've been a little bit aggressive. They've been a little bit baity as well. They were able to get that pick on the Tracer earlier on in the game, but otherwise things like this concussive mine are going to be really annoying to deal with. Now that we have 10, though, they can contest an objective. But as you can see, they're even struggling here now to deal with these Impalers because the map control has been taken away from them.
Map control definitely taken away from them, but it's not exactly the worst thing in the world. They only find themselves, CE finds themselves down about a half level currently. But you have to be careful not to get knocked over from the mine, and that happens right there. Luckily, Wind goes into that Indomitable at level 4, uses that self-cleanse, else that Diablo charge in could have meant a potential death there.
Yeah, it would have meant a nearly certain death. Absolutely, had that connected through. CE, I feel like, should just take this time to play passively before the Shrine is active. It's active now, as I say that. Greymane can clear this camp. This camp would be much more impactful if they can clear it quicker, because that's going to force a reaction out of SPT in the opposite lane from the Shrine, which, again, they're trying to clear this faster. They can get on the Shrine first. They can use their higher defender count that they used in the last fight, and then use Dragon Queen to secure the Punisher. They haven't been winning these fights, they haven't been winning in trades, but objective control is something they can gain from this faster Shrine. Fortunately, though, SPT beats them to it, but there are only 2 here. In fact, they steal 6 defenders, but that's all they can get.
That's all they can get, and I think you made a perfect point in terms of how they're going to try and approach this. You see Malthael up at the top lane on the minimap. He did go on a Pale Horse, so he'll try and get that clear as fast as he can, or at least try and get some advantage to push those Shamans. That'll allow him to rotate down a little bit faster and join the fray here and potentially kind of double up, get kind of a 2-for-1, get that clear up at the top, get the Shrine as well. But as you said, the Dragon Queen, we'll see if that comes out. There it is, 25-28. This should hopefully net them a second Punisher.
All right, Soap's in position here. He's coming in with Tormented Souls. CC's, though, against him, and go for the throat is going to be a kill here. Now Alex Strauss has got her heroic active. No way SPT takes this. In fact, Misaka looks likely to go down here. Great concussive on to KTY. He's still going to get away. Diablo will respawn using his souls, but that's huge. Actually, would have loved to just walk away, not have that respawn, keep his health. And we talked about the level 7 build for Blaze. He used it to clear the mid camp, which actually is still threatening mid right now. Tracer, I think, just cleared it. So, again, more attention away from the Shrine. CE wins back-to-back Punishers here. They're going to get a second wall.
They're going to get a second wall, and it's a matter of can they do more with it. Right now, Wind trying to walk away. He's on that front side. The fort looks like it should fall here as you've got Greyman on the backside about to push forward with some minions. But Wind starting to walk in, looking for an opportunity, see if they can find it. But Masaka looking for an opportunity of his own as he goes in. Alufal trying to make it out alive, but the Roots are going to lock him down. That's going to be one dead Cassia. Wolf, that fort looks like it's going to stand as well.
It is definitely going to stand here. ZZH has had some really well-placed roots. One of them, I think, was the only one that actually didn't hit its mark, was like a little bit too slow, but otherwise he's had some great zoning roots, and in this case just helped them secure the kill. Unfortunately, yeah, they still lost a lot of their forts. Very likely to go down later on in the game, especially with CE's quick camp clear times, but this time is not right now, and SPT continues to maintain a lead in terms of picks, kills, these fights directly that they're taking. And as the game goes longer, I feel like that's going to get stronger and stronger for them as heroes start to further come online. Now Malfurion also has Ice Block, and that can make it much more difficult for CE to kind of bully and control these shrines. Simply a positioning of Malfurion ZZH can be a lot more aggressive. He's not as concerned about a go for the throat coming through or a big stun potentially coming through from Blaze, or even Garrosh, of course, trying to grab that toss. He just Ice Blocks away from it, buys enough time for his team to get into position.
You know, the points that you've brought up in terms of the way CE is using their macro abilities and getting control just so they can get a head start on the shrines, or at least find that early game control. It's up to SPT to kind of try and change that narrative. They need to try and look for a pick, be aggressive on their own, because so far they've been mostly reactive. They got that one pick during the first shrine because they weren't really worried about the first Punisher, but then they really committed to that top part and didn't fully commit somewhere else. So for SPT, they seemed a little bit indecisive on the first one, a little bit slower on the second one. I'd like to see them kind of pick up the pace a little bit themselves, try and maybe find an opportunity for them to force, because you get a pick here soon. It's much better. They're also closer to 16.
Look at what they're doing right now. They're looking for these rotations around the map, around these vents. They have map control from that last fight. They cleared all the lanes, so they have vision control. So they're not going to allow them to their opponents to outcamp them. They're going to invade these camps. They're going to look for picks. Tracer potentially could grab a pulse bomb on a Greymane. He's trying to camp. They're being aggressive. They're doing exactly as you suggested. They're trying to change the tempo of this game right now. And suddenly, for the first time, CE is not just getting these free, quick camp clears while maintaining Soak to then take advantage on the Shrine. SPT is just no longer going to allow that to happen. I really like what they're doing. It's exactly as you suggested.
CE's trying to sniff it out. They know that SPT is lurking somewhere. We see the trap go down. That will definitely zone out quite a bit. Wind, again, with that level 1 talent, probably still trying to stack that up as well. So trying to get some free stacks, recognizing that camp is pretty much gone. So 16 was picked up by SPT. CE recognizing the threat. They're going to wait it out, clear another wave or two, get 16, try and meet them on even ground.
And this is the first time that SPT is going to actually have control of caps and have control of the Shrine first. In fact, they're going to steal this cap as well. CE too slow to rotate, unable to come in here and prevent this. So total control now goes to SPT. The shoe's on the other foot here, because remember how we talked about the poke was better for SPT. They have pick potential with the Diablo, the Tracer, once they have the Shrine controlled. CE is going to really struggle to try to invade using a bunker or invade using Alexstrasza, a support that's not very good at getting in. Can secure the last defenders, but getting in and taking a straight up fight like this, that's going to be another story.
This is going to be the team fight I think we've kind of been waiting for. It's been building up to this. We see a slight lead in terms of skeletal defenders in favor of SPT. Look for them to just play this safe cautiously, but look for an opportunity. They know that they can't give up a ton because of the Dragon Queen factor. Look at the top, Wolf. That is Tracer lurking, looking for an opportunity. Melody Z coming in.
Huge silence here. Already Cassia is dead. The Riptire doing an insane amount of damage, and you can see CE, when they're unable to get on this Shrine first, they just simply cannot invade. They cannot take it. 3 kills here for SPT. They will secure their first Punisher of the game in flying colors, not to mention the fact that that top lane was already pushed by the camp they were able to steal. Melody C once more. Zhuyu caught, stunned, and that is going to be a 4th pick here for SPT. Finally, they did as you were alluding to. Those invades, control of the caps means they control the shrines, and now they control the game.
And they do it decisively as they're now taking down mid fort. Malthael pushing in the top lane, taking the top fort as well. They're not opening up part of the map. They're trying to open up the whole thing. And in doing so, getting that team wipe, they were about a quarter level, about almost a half level ahead. Now we're looking at 2 full levels, structural advantage majorly in their favor. They might try and look for another pick. They have a pulse bomb. They don't have much else behind there, but with enough time, they might try and look for another engage here. they can find an opportunity.
They had so many minions here too, J-Hell. This Punisher's still at 85% health. It's an arcane Punisher, the worst one you want to face at this kind of stage. They do bait it over the wall here, but there's so much option, or there's so many rooms for errors here for CE. That silence is up in 10 seconds, and that means that SPT might just wait it out, look for an opportunity to use that to turn a fight. Looks like they're going to play it safer. They know they're going to have 20 first. That's a fact. They've already kind of farmed the experience, getting that mid wall, getting the mid fort, grabbing this keep wall. They just want to play for the next shrine where they know they're going to have 20 and CE will not.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. That 20 tier is definitely going to be in favor. I don't think CE will be at 20 by the time the next shrine phase. So if they're lucky, the next shrine will spawn at the bottom because they still have a fort there. They can buy time in the other lanes. Now, generally what we would see is right now, SPT, what they want to try and do, Wolf, is to potentially get that bottom camp, clear out this bottom lane, and maybe look to take down this bottom fort, look to invade and try and find that. If they can take down that bottom fort, there's so many things that open up. If you see your opponent now trying to reach for 20, they'll look to push your top fort.
Oh, Lupo is in so much trouble. That was a great pulse bomb instantly. They're going to use the Riptire as well. 365 will be the second to die. And this game feels so far out of CE's grasp right now. KTY desperately trying to make this a trade. Not even close. Definitely not going to happen. And you were talking about how they wanted to look for a fight, look for an invade, and push that fort to get 20. These kills alone push them there.
They definitely got it. They got exactly what they wanted because now by getting this down with the next shrine, if normally what you'll see at this point, Wolf, is that you'll see a team, they desperately want to get 20 for the defense. So they'll push the complete opposite. You would see CE, or normally a team would push that top lane, get structures. That's the quickest way to get back in. But SPT, when you open up that, you get that advantage. You have that threat of 20. Now you get the bottom fort down. If you see your opponent push top, you instantly push bottom, soften up that lane, and make room for that Punisher to get that and just potentially in the game. So they're setting up win conditions. By getting that first pick, they definitely open that up. But they got more than just that one.
I mean, they got the fort down as well. So now, regardless of whichever lane the Punisher ends up on, in this case, the bottom lane, the bottom Punisher is going to go directly to the keep wall. They've opened everything up, essentially, here for a victory condition no matter what if they win this Punisher. Now all they have to do is dot their I's and cross their T's. They're going to take control of every single camp on the map to keep lanes pushed, to control vision. The only thing CE can do right now is hope for a miracle defense, perhaps try to get a pick. With no vision and all these camps controlled, CE just has to simply sit in the base and wait. There's not much for them to do at the moment. This camp's going to start threatening a keep. And the shrine hasn't even started yet, but this game's end may be beginning.
Yeah, it could very well. And CE, if they overstep their bounds by just one step, Masaka might look to engage, look for that fight, and try and turn this on its head. But they're also using the camp, as you said, looking for the keep. There's the taunt, though. However, they do get the kill onto Malthael. We're going to see if he comes back or not. He has returned. He's cheating death using his level 20. That's going to make it a 5-on-5, but that kill is extremely valuable. Yeah. CE saves their keep, but that also gives them a nice chunk of experience.
I almost feel like SPT should try to backdoor this keep. Well, if SC, or sorry, I don't know why I keep saying SE. CE, if they try to, go to this shrine directly, I feel like backdooring that keep would be intelligent. The threat of that alone keeps CE in their base, which means that SPT, despite being down a member for just a second with that Malthael returning from death, they are going to control the shrine. The keep still survives, and CE's chances of victory survive with it. Chances of winning the shrine, though, just simply out of bounds at the moment.
It's definitely out of bounds. You can see Blaze at the top trying to get some experience up at the top. But CE is still not out of, or not, they're not out of the woods yet, I should say, because 20 tier is still here.
Indeed, Soap's going to go ahead and take this camp at the same time, so they have extra siege pushing with this Punisher, and so as a result, CE, they have to really look to take a dominant fight before the Punisher gets onto the core. The keep, that's really pretty much a no-go. They need that, but they're not going to get it, at least not until that minion wave gets onto it. Here comes the Punisher. Wynn's going to go ahead and eat this heal. Is baiting some of this Punisher to eat its health. 20% of it already down now. They still don't have 20. It's right around the corner. They're just trying to do anything they can to buy time. They've got good poke with the Greymane, but that's about it. Here comes the Punisher. They're going to engage with it.
They're going to engage with it. The Punisher and everybody else getting the stun. You can see the Riptire zoning out right now. They need to just focus on the keep if they're SPT. That's their main focus right now. Get the keep. And if you're CE, if you concede just a keep at this point, that is a win for you. But they're going to give up more as Tracer goes in, gets the pulse bomb, lands the instant blow up, getting stuffed there with that level 20.
Explosion of Blaze now means that the win condition may be open for SPT. The shield was eliminated by the Punisher. Still 4 members alive on the side of SPT. They're pushing this back right now. The blind coming through from Cassie has been really helpful. Wind barely survives, at least for a moment longer until I say it. He does go down, but SPT is still being pushed away. The core will survive with 76%. And this is going to be, at least for now, the end of this push, barring a mistake from CE.
Cassia really did some damage there, getting that infinite lightning. You can see that ball lightning going back and forth, just really defending well there. I was going to say Melody C actually sitting on a pulse bomb right there, just waiting to see. Might have got that last little bit of charge, trying to see if he could maybe open that up, get that last kill, then try and confirm the game.
Well, now they're going to just take camps again. I mean, ever since they had their advantage, they've been just marauding around the map, you know, putting flags on every camp. This is going to make the catapult push a little bit more annoying to deal with because the camps in the middle are going to be threatening the keep. The bottom push is going to eventually start threatening the core. Unfortunately for SPT, though, because they didn't get the top keep, there's not that much extra pressure. There's no objective available at the moment. So this is still, by any means, a winnable game for CE if they can win the next team fight. But every single fight they've won this game is when they had map control, when they had camp control, which they lost about 8 levels ago.
The one thing that we'll look for is the same combo that we saw before. There's been some clutch bunkers so far, but right now, if you get the Diablo charge in, as well as the Tracer pulse bomb, then that is really where you're trying to get it, because it interrupts that, it takes away that opportunity. And using get stuff there, it gives you kind of that instant blow up. I think that's what they're going to be looking for if they can find that. They were camping in the bush, unable to find it, but that threat, because CE has to have somebody defend those catapults because the next shrine is top. So you have to push that out once or twice, something along those lines. So you're going to look for that opportunity. CE has to defend together, and that's the main part here.
What's really cool for CE here is that they can defend the really big problem they had in the bot lane right now before the shrine is active. They're able to use this top, keep. Or they can relieve the top keep pressure with this mercenary camp at the moment. So they're surviving, they're hanging on by a thread, but there's always hope, there's always a chance. I think the highest chance of CE winning this game, though, is if SPT keeps trying to party bush, gets blinded and fended with a ton of damage coming out from a cocktail. They could lose too much health and actually end up losing the game from taking a risk like that. Play it safe, get on the shrine first. That's how they're going to win this game. Soap's being greedy right now. He wants to have this extra pressure here with the Goatmen and the catapults to threaten core. But that means that CE could make a play here to try to come in. They don't have vision. They're scared of a backdoor, so they're hearthing. They're showing hearths at the moment. That should be enough to get SPT this shrine. Those acronyms are killing me tonight, Jay.
I just got to compliment SPT here in the sense that they recognize that if they get that one pick, it changes the entire dynamic. It makes this game so much easier for them. But CE also recognized that they needed to fall back. They needed to work as a group. They needed to work as a whole. But you give up so much of the process. They're going to find themselves way behind. Greymane is clearing that bottom camp, and now they are so far behind in this that it's opening up the door for CE to try and defend.
Really good bunker, though. Melody C is going to get healed up here. Alex Strasser popping that Dragon Queen. Greymane's so far away right now, though. But SPT should not overcommit to controlling this shrine. They already have an advantage in terms of defender numbers right now. Wait till the Dragon Queen expires, then you can come in and look for a re-engage. That's exactly what they're doing right now. Starting to move towards this fight. They do have the big silence they can use to start the engage.
Melody C on the backside. He's got his Pulse Bomb. He's looking to get stopped on somebody here. Looking as the Tormented Souls are out. He's going in. The Pulse Bomb does not land. It does not matter as Cassia goes down. However, Malthal has fallen. Melody C trying to do anything to get the takedown. Trying to find the other one with the bunker.
Though, it comes off cooldown here. They're using this armor. Garrosh is going to go down. It's just not enough to save them here. KTY looking for a pick. There's not enough damage, and finally, SPT looks like they will be able to close this game out. The core's under attack, meanwhile, by Impalers in the bot lane. They've got those catapult minions there, and this game may end before they can even get the Punisher to walk to the keep, just simply because of those catapult minions in bot.
Yeah, the catapults are putting the damage on 33%. The Punisher's been picked up. There's barely any keep left in that top lane, and this will be SPT moving forward. You know, Wolf, it was 17 kills to 6, but it seemed like there were moments where that game was much closer
I feel like
than met the eye.
It swung like a seesaw, J-Hal. We had the beginning, the early game was totally controlled by faster. What? It's a seesaw.
It's swung.
Well, you know, it's a lever, right? Okay. At the beginning, it was on the side of CE, and then momentum shifted, as seesaws do, and it went over to SPT. That shift began when, as you rightfully pointed out while you were recasting the series so beautifully, SPT decided to take the initiative to invade camps, to deny the camping that CE was doing so well on. That's what allowed them to get on every shrine, and that's when the seesaw swung, to use the language I used earlier, and the momentum shifted away from CE into SPT. From that moment on, CE never had a foothold in the game.
Can you once again just like show how that seesaw? How
Look,
that
it
Would
works?
was
it go
like this,
like
and then it
this?
swung down like this.
Okay, thank
It
you.
wouldn't go like this or like this.
Am I thinking of the wrong thing?
No, you actually are not, but